Hey everyone, welcome back to another Explainer. Today, we've got some high-profile legal news to break down regarding a pretty wild disruption at a political town hall earlier this year. We're going to literally trace the steps of exactly how this unfolded, right from the ground level straight into the federal courtroom. You know, when public political spaces become the scene of a physical altercation, it really catches everyone's attention. Understanding the precise details of what went down and the legal fallout that followed, well, it's absolutely crucial for all of us. Let's get right into it. Okay, let's dive into this. The big breaking news hitting the wires from the Justice Department is that a single defendant has officially entered a guilty plea. This essentially wraps up a huge piece of a story that, you might remember, started making national headlines a few months back. The man has pleaded guilty to exactly one count of assaulting a United States officer.
So, laying out the basic facts from the hearing, the defendant here is 55-year-old Anthony James Kazmierczak. He just appeared in federal court in May of 2026. The whole proceeding was presided over by U.S. District Judge Joan Erickson. Now, on paper, this looks like a super straightforward resolution, right? But the details of what Kazmierczak actually admitted to in front of Judge Erickson, that's what really sheds light on the mechanics and, honestly, the underlying motives of this whole event.
So the crucial point is what Kazmierczak actually stated, on the record in federal court. According to the exact statement released by the Justice Department, he admitted that he, quote, planned the assault and that he did not agree with Representative Omar's political views. This confirms two extremely important legal elements for us. First, the act was entirely premeditated, and second, it was driven by a specific political motive, meaning it wasn't just some random spur-of-the-moment outburst, it was a calculated disruption aimed directly at the representative, specifically because of her political stances.
Part 1. Flashback to January, the Minneapolis Town Hall. Let's rewind to January 27, 2026. Representative Ilhan Omar was up there discussing some incredibly charged, truly high-stakes topics. Her remarks were heavily focused on condemning the president's crackdown on illegal immigration. On top of that, she was specifically criticizing the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency, you know them as ICE, for their crackdown activities locally in Minnesota. She was also addressing the fatal shootings of 2 U.S. citizens in Minneapolis by federal agents. As you can imagine, these are heavy, complex issues that naturally draw passionate, deeply felt responses from absolutely everywhere on the political spectrum. Part 2. The incident. Shouting, a syringe, and an arrest.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the highly specific sensory detail of the weapon used. Right in the middle of her remarks, Kazmierczak began actively interrupting. He was making aggressive gestures, shouting, and then security had to move in. But the weapon itself, it wasn't conventional at all. He literally used a syringe to deploy a liquid at the representative. After they arrested him, lab analysis confirmed the presence of acetic acid. So essentially, the liquid was apple cider vinegar. It sounds strange, but deploying even a common household liquid in this specific, aggressive manner constitutes a federal assault.
So what actually happened in that moment? Looking at the immediate physical impact, the Justice Department confirmed that the vinegar absolutely did make direct contact. The liquid landed on Representative Omar's clothing and on her skin. But here's the thing. Despite that physical contact, in the temporary chaos of the disruption, she was completely uninjured. Actually, scratch that. She didn't just walk away uninjured. After the situation was handled and the room was totally secured, she went right back to it. She resumed the town hall and actually finished delivering her remarks to the audience.
Let's move to and see how this builds into Part 3, the legal resolution.
We can see a really swift, chronological progression of the case here. We start over on January 27th with the assault and the immediate arrest at the town hall. From there, we slide right into the investigation phase. This is where that physical evidence is verified through lab analysis. And finally, that brings us right to May, where Kazmierczak stands before a federal judge and admits guilt. Honestly, it's a very straightforward A to B to C path from the initial offense to the final plea.
Which leaves us with this final kind of lingering thought. Town halls are literally a cornerstone of direct democratic engagement, right? But incidents exactly like this raise some massive challenges for both lawmakers and law enforcement. So how will this incident shape the future security and accessibility of open political town halls? Will we start seeing tighter security measures that might, inadvertently distance representatives from their constituents? Or can the open, accessible nature of these civic spaces be preserved while still making sure everyone stays safe? It's a really complex balancing act, and definitely something we are going to need to keep an eye on moving forward. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.